I never planned to become a trader. Growing up in a small town in southern Italy, I didn't even know what the stock market even was. Today, I've generated over $11 million in trading profits and helped hundreds, if not thousands of students around the world to become financially free through trading. But my journey wasn't easy. It involved moving to a new country, joining the military, and years of painful losses before I was able to crack the code. Everything from the struggles, the losses, the breakthroughs, and everything that took me from becoming a clueless beginner trader to a consistently profitable trader. I was born in Castellammare di Stabia. If you're not familiar with it, it's a small town near Naples, Italy. My parents had me when they were 21, and I was the third child already. They were considered the black sheep of the family because, as you might know, Italy is a very old school country. They expect you to go to school, get married, and eventually to have a kid. My parents had their first kid when they were 17 and 16. Then I had another one when they were 18, 19, and then they finally had me at 21. Shortly after they had me, they divorced, and I was pretty much bouncing around from my dad's house, my mom's house, and my grandparents. I lived in a small town, so everybody lived pretty close by, and I would just bounce around. Don't get me wrong, living in southern Italy is definitely not the worst place in the world, but opportunities are very limited. No one out of my town has any high expectations or any big dreams to make a ton of money, start companies, being an entrepreneur. And of course, the Italian economy wasn't great. My dad had to work multiple jobs. He mainly was a police officer. As well as my mom, she was trying to go to school and also working at the same time, so I didn't spend too much time with them. I was mostly with my grandparents or my uncle and aunts. I really appreciated my parents' hard work, but I knew that I couldn't do the same. I had to work smarter. I didn't know how, I didn't know why, but I always knew in the back of my mind that I wanted to do someday. In 2008, my dad had remarried. And with his new wife, they were able to win a green card lottery. They were extremely lucky because at the time, the United States went through the market crash with real estate being pretty cheap. So in 2008, in June, he decided to move. I gave it about a year and I finally decided, hey, it's time to move away from Italy and go join my dad in America. So in 2009, in June, going to my 8th grade year in middle school, I decided to move as well. And trust me, it was not easy. My sister moved with me while my oldest one, she was already over 18, decided to stay in Italy. Moving to America, I grew up near San Diego in Southern California. It was not easy because I knew zero English, literally nothing. I had to adapt to a much different place than Italy was. Everything from the economy, the people, the way people live, the language, the foods, everything was night and day difference, and it was a big culture shock for me. But I was up to the challenge, I adapted quickly, and learned English as well at a pretty fast pace. Middle school and high school were really eye-opening for me. People were a lot more talking about entrepreneurship, they were a lot more talking about having big dreams. And this gave me hope that maybe I could achieve something. Again, I didn't know what I wanted to do or where I was gonna go in my life, but I thought that for sure, at some point, I'll be able to have a big breakthrough and achieve some big dreams that I had. I knew since I was a teenager that for sure I didn't want to live the traditional 9-to-5 like I saw my parents growing up. Even through high school, I was looking for any kind of side hustle. Me and my friend would go to the local swap meet and try to make sales there. Of course, we were making no money. Then through YouTube ads, we got into social media marketing, drop shipping, everything else that failed, as well as day trading. Back in the day, Timothy Sykes was the biggest guru, and I would always watch his ads. I'm like, man, these things look so interesting. I'm like, I knew a little bit about Wall Street, and just the whole trading niche was very, very exciting. But of course, since I was only in high school, I had no money, and my parents were like, what the hell is this? There was no way that I could actually trade with real money. So I messed around, paper trading, and just watching YouTube videos for the time being. My last 2 years of high school, I was trying to watch as many YouTube videos as possible about day trading, absorbing any free information I could get because I had no money. I tried to talk to my friends about it, but hey, nobody was interested. And back in 2013 to 15, trust me, nobody was talking about day trading like they do now. Everybody thought it was a scam and nobody even knew what a broker was. It was always in the back of my mind, but I could never really take action on it until I graduated. Graduating from senior year of high school, I decided to make a life-changing move. I said, you know what? I don't really want to go to college because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I was pretty good at school. I had good grades, good SAT, and I got into some decent schools. But in the middle of the summer, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna join the military. I was still 17 at the time because I graduated a year prior. And a friend of mine had joined the military as well a year before me because he was a little bit older. So I decided to join the Army Reserve. They were offering a $20,000 bonus, $15,000, and on top of that, a $5,000 quick ship bonus if I left within 2 months. So it was just the first week of August. I go talk to the recruiter. I hadn't told my parents anything, but I needed them to sign for me to be able to join because I wasn't 18 yet. So I go home and my parents were actually pretty excited about it. My dad, being in the police force, was really pro-military, so he's like, yeah, I think this would be a great opportunity for you. It'd be a lot to learn. It's gonna be my first time away from any family at all. So as a 17-year-old, I took what I had and I joined the military. Went through the boot camp, went through the AIT, and it taught me a lot. It taught me hard work, being selfless, and resilience. It was probably one of the hardest things I had done at the time, but I'm really glad for the experience. I believe the skills that I had learned through the military very young really helped my trading long term. Now that I've returned from the Army Reserve, which was 6 months of boot camp and AIT, then you go and back home and you go to a unit 1 week in a month, I had about $12,000 to $14,000 in my account. That was after the bonus, taxes, and my pay for being there for 6 months. It was not a lot of money. I spent $6,000 getting a crappy new Mitsubishi Lancer that had like some years on it and like 50,000 miles. So I finally had my first car. I enrolled in community college, so I'm like, hey, I do want to do day trading and I do want to try it, but I wasn't really sure if it was going to be something that I could actually do. Again, I wasn't still sure what I wanted to do in my life. I was like, community college is a pretty decent start. It's not gonna cost me any money since I could go to a local one and I can at least get my associate. So as I go to community college, a little bit of luck happened. There was a guy in my class that was trading on Robinhood, and this was around 2015, 2016 when Trump was gonna be, first time he was gonna be president. And we would talk about trading. And in the back of the class, we had this genius idea to trade options, right? I had no real experience with options up until then. I was just messing around and studying penny stocks. He was like, hey man, Trump's gonna be president, there's gonna be a war. Keep in mind, we live in California, so you can kind of think of the mindset that we had at the time. So we went all in on long calls a few months out because Trump was gonna be president. Of course, those did terrible, kind of lost all my money. It was about $3,000 in my Robinhood account. It was definitely a painful loss since I literally didn't have that much money, but I was very determined. I never once thought, even when I was losing and I wasn't doing well trading, I never thought to quit. I was maybe thinking, hey, this is not gonna be for me to make it a full-time income, but it can always be a side thing that I do just because I really enjoyed it. And I would say that's been my key edge on why I was becoming successful trading long-term, is because I really just enjoyed it. I was in love with the progress. I wasn't really caring about making a ton of money. In my opinion, too many people are focused on the money. They're like, I wanna start trading and within 1 2 months I need to see results. And they quit on their very first losses. Imagine you join school and you quit after you fail your first exam, right? We've all failed exams or not done well on papers. You wouldn't just quit, you just keep going and keep studying and trying to get better. And that was the same mindset that I had for trading. I'm not saying it was a deal because I was working also a part-time job as a security guard in a hospital. That was paying me pretty good, about $20 an hour at the time, and I was living at home. Pretty much every paycheck I would get, I would put back into trading and I would lose it. And it was definitely painful and not best route, but it was a route I took because I didn't have the proper mentorship, or I didn't have the proper guidance, I didn't know better. But I was so obsessed with the process of the trading was that at the time when I was in there, when I look back, I never thought I'm like, oh wow, this is like a bad thing that I'm doing. I was like, whatever, I lost it. I'll just gotta keep trying and I gotta keep working hard until I feel like I'm getting some decent results. Then I will say from 2016 to 2018 was the most struggles that I had, and not even because my trading was so bad, but because I kind of had the skills, but I was making those mistakes that we all do. Right? I would make some gains and then all of a sudden, because of a bad day or two, I would cut all my losses in half. I was over trading, range trading, gambling on news, not proper risk management, no stop losses, all the mistakes that as traders you can probably relate to. And I knew, I was like, man, I'm so close. But that's why I call it the struggle years, because when you're so close is when you want to give up the most, because you're like, you know what, maybe I'm not meant for this. But I knew if I just kept going, I was about to have my breakthrough. Trust me, none of my friends or family supported me trading. They all thought I should quit. They all thought it was dumb. They all thought that I was just wasting my money. But something inside of me just had me never give up. I decided to not tell anybody what I was doing. I would just trade on the side and make it work as I was working 2 jobs, which was security job, as well as the army and going to school. I didn't have much time to go party, go to the clubs, hang out with friends. And it's honestly not something that I even wanted to do. I wanted to focus on this one thing, and I wanted to focus on making my dreams I had from when I was even younger finally a reality. In 2018, things started to click more. I learned finally about my famous now golden pocket, Fibonacci retracement. I learned about how liquidity worked in the market, and I learned about things like gaps, fair value gaps, and I finally started seeing pattern in my trading and build an actual trading model. And now all I had to do was make sure my emotions were on check while I was trading, and I knew for sure I'd find success. I met my current wife in 2019 as well, so I knew that when the husbands are watching, I gotta step up, and I had extra motivation. Now in 2019, I had made enough money to actually buy a house. I had a guy that I worked a security job with that was a big time, or he was getting into investing. So I bought my first property in Alabama for about $75,000 that I rented out. And I made all that money through trading. My goal was hey, make enough money from trading, invest into real estate, and hopefully retire in 10 years. That was kind of my goal. And I was making those small steps that now looking back, it's not a lot of money. By the time it was massive. Now in 2019, I actually had gotten my associate degree and I got accepted into a 4-year college. And literally the first day of my class, it was a Point Loma Nazarene University. It's a private school down in San Diego. I take my sister with me to my first day of class because my parents want me to graduate, but I know I wasn't going to. So what I done was I'm gonna take my sister with me because my parents weren't sure if I was really gonna go to school and they're kind of mad about that. But I go to school with her so she can kind of go back and tell them, yeah, he's going to a great school, it's awesome. But the thing was, I didn't have to pay any of the college tuition until the first week was done. And the tuition was about $36,000, something crazy I was gonna pay. So my goal was I'm gonna take my sister to her first day, she's gonna think I'm going to school, and then boom, I'm done. I'm not gonna go, I'm just gonna pretend like I'm going, I'm gonna go to a coffee shop in the morning. So that's what I do. That first day I'm actually trading in the back of the class, and I made over $5,000 trading that day. And I was that kind of gave me the added confirmation, kind of something that told me the universe telling me hey, you made all this money your first day of school, maybe just stick to this. And I thought, hey, if things go bad, I just join the next semester. It's not something that's if I say no to, I can never go back to. So after I do that, I'm just full-time trading, give up on school in 2019, and I never go back. Now, 2019, I do quite well over 6 figures that year. Then in 2020, something crazy happened. You guys all experienced it, the pandemic. Now, the pandemic was awful, but for traders is what I like to call the Super Bowl of day trading. There was opportunities after opportunity everywhere. 1,000% up in a day on certain stocks multiple times a day. And this was my huge breakout year that took me from doing pretty well trading, I was making very nice income, better than any job I could have had at the time, to making this multiple 7 figures. For any traders that had experience in the market like myself, this was the time that we really took advantage and we capitalized on all the years of hard work, experience, mastering strategies, risk management, finally put it into the markets and make the most out of it. Stocks like Tesla, Nvidia, Apple, they were going crazy, and trust me, I was all over them, making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and my biggest gainer came right around that time, which was $350,000 gain on Nvidia. 2020 was really the year that confirmed everything for me. I was a pretty good trader, but I knew now I could make generational wealth. During my success in 2020, I always had people now kind of start asking me questions, friends and family, about the market, because everybody was sitting at home and they were hey, what is this thing? You've been doing it for a few years. I see stocks going up, everybody's talking about it, they're crashing, what should we do? And at the same time, TikTok kind of started popping off. And my wife was hey, you should post on TikTok. And I'm I'm not doing that. There's kids dancing and stuff. I don't want to. But she was okay, would you post on Instagram? They were Instagram Reels is gonna be the next TikTok. And I was sure, I'll do it. I literally only started posting on social media because my wife kind of forced me to do it. So I started posting, and I would post about some stocks I was interested in for, who remembers back in the day, CCIV, LCID, all those kind of stocks. And it started getting some traction and people getting interested in the content I was uploading. I'll be honest, I was never a social media guy. I had zero social media up to that point. Through high school, I didn't have a phone till I was a senior in high school. Then I joined the military, so what was I doing with social media? So I was shocked at how many people were actually interested in what I had to say about the stock market. I created a small Discord community with just a handful of people, and in a few months it grew to hundreds. And a lot of these members started seeing results. So I decided to build a structured mentorship where I would teach people A through Z the exact models and mindset that had gotten me the results that I had. This is how students like Adrian that were able to take over $40,000 payouts in just 1 month went through to get the results they have. Others like Matt making well over $35,000 after the first month in the mentorship gave me just more motivation to keep it up keep working hard, and teach others the same strategies that have helped me make millions. And one of my most proud and recent achievement I had was flipping around $35,000 to well over $800,000 all live on my YouTube channel with live login proof of every single trade. Trading has completely changed the way I have lived my life. And it's not a business that has drained everything out of me. Yes, I put years of hard work into it, but all of it is paying off. I've been able to travel over 50 countries. I've been able to buy my dream car, Ferrari F8, which is actually really funny because I was in high school. I wrote down the dream car that I wanted, which was a Ferrari 458 at the time, which eventually became the F8 because of years of making it newer. So I was able to achieve all those dreams, travel just from my laptop. I'm going to Italy literally tonight as I'm making this video. I'm going to Brazil for a month in about a week, and I get to be present with my son now that he's now 5. I get to pick him up and drop him off to school every single day and to hang out with him every single day, something my dad could never do. Not because he didn't want to, but because he took the regular route. He didn't know any better. He worked really hard, but was not able to be as present as he wished for his family. My biggest goal was to achieve financial freedom without having to completely give up time freedom. And this is why I love day trading. I'm not one of those guys that you see that never spends time with their family because they have to run this big 7-8 figure business. I get to make really good money while still only working about a couple hours a day max. If you're starting your trading journey, just remember that everyone that you look up to was a beginner just like you at some point. Even like me, as you probably saw through this video. I created my mentorship program because I wish I had the right guidance when I first started trading. If you're serious about accelerating your trading and having the proper guidance, consider checking out the link down below in the description where it breaks down exactly what's in my mentorship program. And it will allow you to work with me directly. Thank you for watching my story, and I hope this motivates you just a little bit to keep pushing whatever obstacles you have in front of you. Just know that you can get through them, and I'll see you guys in the next video.